The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Welcome to this week's Killer Innovation Show. This topic is one that I bring up probably every 5 years or so throughout the history of this show, because it's one that I guess I say it to myself because I got to remind myself about this. Today's topic is about what I call Black Swan innovation. We're talking about surprising events, things you cannot plan for that are just totally unpredictable. We're facing that in today's world, right? Who could have predicted the war in the Ukraine, or the almost doubling of fuel costs over the previous 2 years, or the current economic recession, or the pandemic? Could you have predicted that? All of these things have a huge, huge impact. Well, this also applies to innovations that are surprising, that come in from left field. They can be very, very disruptive. So today we're going to talk about Black Swan innovation and talk about what can you do to prepare so that you're the one who rides out these black swans and actually can use it to create unique positions, unique advantages when you get to the other side of the change and the chaos. So before we jump into this week's episode, got that favor to ask: follow, like, and share. Follow us on social media, like the show, and share it with others. And so without any further ado, let's jump into this week's episode.
This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
No one can predict the future, but that doesn't mean we can't prepare for it. In this podcast, we will be exploring the concept of Black Swan innovation and discuss how leaders can respond to these events when they occur. We will also look at some examples of Black Swan innovations that have had a profound impact on society. And my hope is, by understanding what a Black Swan event is and how to prepare for it, you can minimize the negative consequences of these unpredictable occurrences. So, what is a Black Swan innovation? A Black Swan innovation is an unpredictable event, innovation, idea, technology that changes the course of an industry or business. It is something that no one could have ever predicted, and it can completely overturn the status quo. The term Black Swan comes from the idea that black swans are events or occurrences that are so rare that they are almost impossible to predict. The black swan was given its name because prior to being discovered in Australia, all other swans were white. Consequently, the bird was thought of as an impossibility. Nassim Taleb popularized the term in his book, The Black Swan, The Impact of the Highly Improbable, and I would highly recommend this book. In his book, Nassim discusses the idea of black swan events and how they can have such a major impact on businesses and, in some cases, entire industries. He argues we should not focus on predicting these events, but instead focus on being prepared for them when they occur. Taleb believes we should not prioritize looking at the past and using past data and trying to make predictions, as this data may not indicate the future outcomes. Rather, it is important to focus on the present and future rather than the past. Now, hindsight is one of those things that we all fall in the trap of doing, but hindsight claims of having seen a black swan can be highly misleading because they can lead to inaccurate assessments of the likelihood, of the probability of an event. We will tell ourselves that, oh, we saw this black swan event. We saw it before it happened. So if I see that or if I feel like I'm seeing that, it's going to happen again. That leads to false assumptions. For example, if someone says they saw a black swan before it happened, it's going to give that false impression. It makes us feel like that it's assurance. If A happens, B is automatically going to happen. And that is not the case. The definition of black swan is it's an occurrence that you cannot predict. So how do you prepare then for a black swan event? Now, as a leader, you should always be prepared for the unexpected. And this includes being ready for black swan events. Before a black swan event occurs, leaders should make sure that they have accurate information about the probability of a range of events happening. This information can help you make sound decisions in the face of when that black swan event's going to happen. And you should have a plan in place on how to respond when it does happen. Now, this plan should include contingencies for various potential scenarios. But by being prepared, you can minimize the negative consequences of the event. Now, there are many different types of black swan events that leaders should be prepared for. For example, natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, fires. A natural disaster is a catastrophic event, and it's caused by natural events such as the floods that we experienced here in Colorado, or the hurricanes that we also experienced at our house in Florida. Another black swan is financial crises. Kind of what the economy is going through today. A financial crisis is a situation where the value of financial assets collapses. It leads to liquidity crisis, it leads to recessions, it restricts your ability to raise capital. How do you plan for these financial crises? The third, political unrest. It refers to the situation in which social order is disrupted due to protest or civil unrest. And then there's technological and innovation disruptions. These disruptions occur when a new technology, a new innovation is introduced that disrupts or it replaces entirely the status quo. By being prepared for these and other types of black swan events, leaders can minimize the negative consequences that these events can have on their organizations. So let's talk about some examples of black swan innovations, black swan events. One, the printing press. Now, prior to the printing press, books were hand copied by scribes, which was a slow and expensive process. Very few people ever owned a book because it was just so expensive and took so long, and therefore the knowledge stayed with the elite, the people with money. The printing press allowed for books to be printed in large quantities, which made them more affordable and allowed for more people to have access to them. And this led to a period of rapid intellectual growth, and it helped spread knowledge throughout the world. And like a lot of black swan events, the printing press also had downstream impacts, like the establishment of libraries, the ability for people to check out a book and read it and return it and share the knowledge that books enabled. It allowed the publishing of the Bible, and therefore shifted the control of the religion from the controllers of the church to the members of the church. The ability to read the Bibles or read whatever the texts are for the religion in order to interpret themselves. Next up, electricity. Prior to the discovery of electricity, people relied on candles and other forms of light. It also depended on other means in order to generate work or output, using horses in order to drive, basic, simple machinery. The use of steam engines of some kind or water wheels in order to grind wheat. All of this is what was available prior to the invention of electricity. Now, electricity then allowed for the development of new technologies such as light bulbs, radios, televisions, the electric motor, factories, and such that today you can't even imagine what your life would be like. This invention of electricity led to a period of rapid technological growth and helped improve the quality of life for civilization. And then no discussion around Black Swan events would be complete without talking about the invention of the internet. The internet has allowed for the exchange of information and ideas on a scale that was previously unimaginable. It has allowed all the development for new technology such as social media, which has revolutionized the way people interact with each other. That's assuming you look at the positive side of social media. Like Black Swan events, it can also have a negative, an unintended consequence. And you could talk about social media also in the unintended consequences of a Black Swan innovation. And in this case, it is this whole area of social interaction and what the impact on society and on politics, and friends becoming foes because of opinions expressed. So Black Swan events can have positive, but they can also have negative. Now, this invention of the internet has made it easier for people to access information, and it has led to a rapid growth of global economic expansion. Now, by allowing the exchange for this information, ideas on a global scale, the internet has had a far-reaching impact on society that is just beyond, you can't calculate this impact. You cannot overestimate the importance and the impact of the internet, but you couldn't predict it. It is a Black Swan innovation. Now, each of these innovations, right, whether you want to talk about the printing press, electricity, or the internet, was a game changer that completely disrupted the status quo. They were all considered impossible until they happened, and they each had a profound impact on society. Now, how do you respond to a Black Swan event? If a leader is suddenly faced with a Black Swan event that they did not prepare for, there are several steps that they should take to minimize the negative consequences. 1, assess the situation. Don't panic. Assess. Gather as much information as possible. This information can help you make then informed decisions on how to respond to the event. 2, develop a plan for how to respond to the event. Don't shoot from the hip. Don't guess. Don't just start barking out orders. Step back. Put together a plan. Now, this plan should include contingencies for various potential scenarios. So therefore, you can plan for and react to downstream impacts of any actions you take. But by being prepared, leaders can minimize these negative consequences. You understand what decisions you're making and what the downstream impact is going to be. Number 3, communicate with the team and stakeholders. Open communication is essential during a Black Swan crisis. Leaders should keep everybody updated on the situation and let them know what steps are being taken to address the issue. 4. Focus on maintaining calm and order. I'll tell you, this can be difficult during a chaotic event, but it is essential to maintain control. Leaders should provide clear instructions and expectations, and they should be available to answer any questions and address any concerns, and must convey a sense of calm. And 5, take the time to review the situation after it has passed. This can help learn from their experiences, and you can make adjustments for plans for the future. While there's no way to predict or prepare for every possible Black Swan event, leaders can minimize the negative effects of these events by being prepared and taking quick, decisive action when they do occur. Note that through this whole discussion today, we're not talking about if a Black Swan event will occur. It's about when the Black Swan event does occur. When it happens, you will experience a Black Swan event in your career. Black Swan innovation is like a tidal wave. It is unpredictable, but when it hits, it can cause a lot of damage. However, if you are prepared for Black Swan events, then you can minimize the negative consequences on you personally and on the organizations you are working with. By being proactive, staying calm under pressure, you can help your teams weather the storm. In the aftermath, it is important to take that time to review what happened and learn from the experience. As Nelson Mandela once said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." So what'd you think? Black Swan innovations and Black Swan events are those things that you just can't predict, but I would encourage you to take the time to really think about it. You can be prepared. There's lots of change going on every day. The pace and acceleration of change says that what you plan for today will be completely different tomorrow. And by putting the effort into thinking about it, deeply thinking about change and deeply thinking about all the possible Black Swan events, social unrest, riots in the streets, economic shifts, military actions, new technologies, new innovations, natural disasters, fires, floods. If you think about it, we're seeing all of these things today. My encouragement is take the time, take a step back and really think about them, and think about all those scenarios and think about what would you do if one of these things happened? How would you respond? How could your work, your innovations, your product, your services, your company, your organization respond when a Black Swan event occurs? This is one of those shows that you may want to come back and listen to, twice a year or something, or play it for your teams so that you can have a discussion about what are all of the Black Swan events that your organization should be planning for. So, and again, like, we said at the end of that episode, it is important that when you go through a Black Swan event to reflect. What did you learn? What what could you have done differently in the planning to be better prepared for that kind of event? And I'm just going to quote Nelson Mandela a second time, where he said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." So you either are successful or it's a learning opportunity. Thanks again for joining this week's show. Greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Time is the most valuable asset. I don't know about you. I never have enough time to get everything done that I want to get done. So again, thank you for joining us. I want to thank those of you who have been checking out the new Innovators Network website and all the great content we're publishing. In fact, there'll be new additional contributors. Go check that out at theinnovators.network. It is a innovation-focused journalism. We tell the stories of innovation and the people behind that innovation. We use a combination of explaining journalism and solution journalism in order to tell the whole, complete, deep story around innovation and specific innovation. So check that out. You can subscribe to the newsletter from the Innovators Network. There's a form at the bottom in the footer of all the pages. You can just simply put your email address in, and you will be subscribed to the newsletter, and then you'll get regularly updated. Right now, there's a handful of us that are publishing and writing our content there. All of these shows, the Killer Innovations, my blog, all of that is aggregated there at the Innovators Network. You can still get it at its normal sites, but if you want to go one place, one-stop shopping for everything innovation with regards to journalism and what were stories about new technologies and also pointing out some of the negatives of what's going on, some of the what I call innovation fraud that we see out there, with people overpromising the capabilities of innovation. Those stories will all be posted over at theinnovators.network. So check that out. And thank you for those of you who have checked it out and who dropped me notes of encouragement. This is a new project for me, but I feel that if we're going to fix the innovation journalism problem, who better to do it than us, I guess, since nobody else is doing it. So we're trying this out. I'm very committed to it. I'm excited about it. And the response has been great. And thank you for all of those of you who've been sending encouraging notes and checking that out. And with that, have a great week. Work on your ideas. Work on your innovations. The ideas you're working on are fantastic. Don't let anybody else tell you that it's not. But you need to spend the time, move it forward, deliver it, and change the world. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.